Welcome to Series 1, Episode 3. This is an archive of live video Q&As streamed online. In this episode, I chat to Sarah Small from ADIGITALME discussing business processes and automation, from finance to onboarding and from marketing to admin. Enjoy! Welcome to the Johnny Ross audio experience. I'm Johnny Ross, founder and digital marketing strategist of Fleek Marketing. Each podcast I'll be bringing you an expert to inspire you, to give you some great business growth takeaways, and to get you thinking about marketing and the bigger picture of how businesses can improve, adapt and grow. I look forward to sharing this with you on each podcast, so here we go. Hello, hi, how are we all? So we're here for another Q&A with an expert live. We've got Sarah Small from ADIGITALME. Say hello.
Hello everybody, nice to see you.
You all right?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Very good. So in one of the past sessions, we were talking about large organizations, teams of 50, 2,000 people, all of a sudden having to remote work. Instead, this morning, we're going to be focusing very much on the smaller businesses, and we're going to look at business processes. We're going to look at automation. We're going to look at ultimately how to help your business have a bit more consistency, a bit more efficiency, but very focused on that smaller business. Sarah, just before I ask you a question, just to let everyone know, we're live streaming on Facebook in the Facebook group, and that's the Coronavirus Yorkshire Business Support Group, which we've set up to help businesses during this, what we're potentially calling Corona Chaos. And we're also live streaming on YouTube. All of this will be available afterwards. If you are watching the replay, it would be really helpful just to pop a hashtag replay in the comments so that we can understand how people are watching these videos. We actively want questions. If you've got questions, please put them in the comments, and we will be coming to questions, and I'll bring them up on the screen as well. If you want your name in there, pop your name and your business, and we'll mention it as well. Sarah,
hi. Nice to see
everything's sort of changed for all of us. How's the last couple of weeks been for you? I'm guessing it's been a bit tough.
It's been interesting. A lot of the clients that we're currently working with have some connection with events industries, whether that be the wedding industry or they run events for themselves. So it's been interesting because a lot of work has gone on pause. Now, that's not to say that it has affected every single client, but the majority of clients, as I'm sure that you've probably had a similar response, things are not working in the way that they normally would, because a lot of clients have lost their income. And so therefore, as much as they don't want to pause relationships, they don't really have much choice.
Yeah. And what's the so if you take away the current crisis we're in, what was the sort of common theme that you were finding with small businesses anyway? What were? So I'm guessing.
Go on.
No.
I was going to say the thing that I come across all the time with clients is that they feel a bit overwhelmed. They feel that their business is chaotic. They've probably grown a bit too fast, and they don't necessarily have the right people to do the right things at the right time, or they don't have the right processes and platforms in place to be able to do those efficiently. So they spend a lot of time doing things that actually could take probably a quarter of the time and free them up to do more and deliver more.
Yeah, okay. We've got some comments already. Someone saying hello. Morning, Sarah. Good to see you again. If you want to put your name in there, you're very welcome. Actually, some of you have already allowed stream time to see you. So we've got Colin there. Good morning. I've got someone else saying morning, guys. Unfortunately, someone can't make it, so that's a shame. But they'll be watching it on the replay, I'm sure. And Sarah's already been highly recommended, and someone was very much looking forward to seeing this morning. So yeah, as I said, please feel free to ask questions, and we will try and answer them. So we're a small business. We've got it's either just ourselves or maybe we've got 2, 3, 4 staff. What are the things that we what's the first thing we need to be thinking about?
So
And,
whenever I speak to a client who is feeling that overwhelmed, the first thing that I always say to them is just take a step back and look at what is it that's frustrating you. Because if you can create a list of the things that A, you don't want to do, B, you find it taking far too long, or C, they're just really, really irritating because you might not be doing them in the best way and you're only doing them the best way you know how, though that's a really good starting point because I can have that rational, unemotional view of the business and start to ask the questions of, well, why do we do things like that? Because often people do things because they don't know how to do it any other way, and they may have been doing a particular task or a particular job like that because they've always done it like that because nobody's ever showed them any different and they're not aware of what's out there. So it's always that first, what is frustrating you, what's stopping you, then let's have a look at that and let's have a look at how that fits into the bigger picture.
So we've got Rosita just saying hi from House of Cocoa and District Bar in Leeds. Thank you. So what you're saying, Sarah, ultimately is the first step is we write down all the stuff that we can't stand doing.
Can't stand, find frustrating, takes too long. Absolutely. That's the very first step, because if you can identify what those are, that's a good starting point. It's not necessarily about immediately handing those over to somebody else. It's about looking how they fit into the business as a whole and whether they're being done in an efficient way and why they're being done like that as well, because there could be some really interesting things that come out of that as to, that we can pick up on and really deal with as part of the bigger strategy.
Okay, and typically some of the things in that list, what might they include?
It might include following up with clients. So you might meet lots of people at events that you then are not following up with properly because you don't have the knowledge on how to do that. So it could be email marketing. It could be that you are struggling to communicate and have an overview of your business because you've got different people in there doing what they need to do, but you haven't got a platform that brings it all together and nobody's communicating effectively. There's lots of different aspects of business that become frustrating, but it always boils down to we just do things because with the way we've done them the way we always do them. That's often the case.
There's a number of tools that you use that a lot of businesses probably aren't even familiar with or haven't seen before or wouldn't know how to use them. Let's talk about some of the tools then. So what would be the sort of first tool that every small business owner should be thinking about implementing or using?
Okay, so I always talk to business owners and clients about task management systems, and there are loads out there, and I couldn't possibly start to give you an entire list, but what I am going to do is just give you an idea of a couple of free things that are out there that are very easily you can pick them up very, very easily and learn how to use them. So the reason you would want to use a task management system is so that you can get all the knowledge out of your head and out of the millions of pieces of paper that you might be scribbling on and the millions of post-it notes that you're sticking all over your wall, and have it in one central place so that you can manage that and manage it with the people that you're working with, even if they are outsourced contractors. So one of them, which is probably the more simpler visual one, is Trello. Now, you may have heard of it. You may have dabbled with it and got on with it or not got on with it. I don't know. But it can be used in so many different ways because, for example, right now, although Trello is an amazing business tool, I've already got it set up with my kids so that they've got a homeschool board in there, and I'm saving links into there so that they can access it. So there's so many different ways to use all these tools. The other one that I highly recommend.
Before we go into another tool, then, so just talk me through the kids board that you've got in Trello. Just help me understand.
So this started off last week when obviously the schools shut, and I was bombarded, as I'm sure that many people were last week, with WhatsApp messages and emails from school and Facebook groups and tons and tons of resources. And I thought to myself, my God, I've got information everywhere and I don't know where I'm going to remember that I've saved it. So I thought, right, okay, back to the drawing board, Sarah, this is what you do best. And I decided that actually the best way to do it was to collate all the resources that I'd found into a Trello board. Now, my kids have both got their own iPads, which does help because obviously there is, they've got access to everything themselves, and we've got a laptop that they use for schoolwork. So I created a Trello board and spent probably about an hour and a half taking all the links that school had sent us, all the things that I'd been sent on WhatsApp groups, all the things I'd saved into my Facebook, saved items. And I started breaking it down into different areas. So, for example, we've got an English column with all the links that we've got for English. We've got maths column, we've got science column, art column. You know, every single card has got a different resource on it. It might be a website, it might be ideas, and I just keep adding to it. So the kids can access that on any basis, and they can never tell me they're bored because there's always going to be something in there.
So just for people that aren't familiar with it, I've just put the link on the screen there. It's Trello, TRELLO.com. So I think what I'm hearing from you is that this is in effect, your Bible, whether it be your business Bible, or we were talking earlier, you know, whether it be your hub, or there's lots of different words, but it's your one-stop shop that has all the information. Someone is already telling you that they love that. Love that, Sarah. Very nice, thank you. So what you're saying is that it's your go-to place for everything, in effect. It
is. Now, I happen to use another system, which we can talk about in a minute, for my business, but I found that Trello fits family. For some people, Trello is perfect for business as well, especially if they are a more visual person. For me, Trello is perfect for our family lives, and I've got my husband on board with it. You know, we keep everything in there. It helps us to have one central place, and I can share information with them as it comes up, or we can save information and scan pictures into it, or, you know, there's all sorts of different ways it can work. I do use another task management system myself for my business. However, some people might find that a little bit more overwhelming depending on how technical they are. So I often find that Trello is a great starting point. If you want to start getting organized and having some central places to keep all your information, Trello is a great starting point.
But I think you're referring to Asana there, are you?
I am, yes.
But correct me. But correct me if I'm wrong. You'd use Trello to signpost to certain things in Asana, or is that not how you use it?
I can do. Asana is a totally separate system. Asana has more functionality. It allows you to have repetitive tasks. So I'll just explain a little bit about how I use Asana in my business and how I've used it with clients as well. So Asana has the ability to have lists and cards the way that Trello does as well. However, it also allows you to have lists in the more traditional sense. So, you know, if you're creating a bullet point list of the things that you need to do today, Asana can actually have that. And what it does is it breaks it down by project. So, for example, in my Asana book, my workspace, I have got a project for finance. I have got a project for marketing. I've got a project for general business admin. I've got a project for ideas. So it's a place where I can constantly put information in to get it out of my head. And I can set up those tasks in there on a repetitive basis. So, for example, if you are somebody that does their own bookkeeping, let's say for argument's sake, you may decide that you want to reconcile your books once a week or once a month. That can be set up as a recurring task. So it'll pop up into your to-do list. Today, I need to do my bookkeeping. You can put all the information in there with links to whatever system you're using, or, you know, notes that you need to remember. And once I've ticked that as being complete, it goes away. It's out of my head. Don't have to worry about it, and it'll pop up again next week or next month. And I've done the hard work by setting it up in the first instance. So it goes away from that jumble of, oh my goodness, what do I do today? Because that's a big problem for a lot of business owners.
So Asana is more around the set of tasks and a task list and things to do, and the order to do them, and actually about processes.
Yeah, absolutely. It's
whereas
flow for processes in some ways, it's more functional, definitely.
Whereas it sounds like Trello is more about having a resource area and.
Well, yes, but not necessarily. Trello can be used in the same way, but there are lots of different ways to use it. And I would always recommend playing around with it and just creating a random board, having a look at how you can do it, because, you know, every board can be designed in a different way. And for some people, it is better that it's more visual. And for other people, it's better that it's more of a list and everything that gets joined together. There are advantages and disadvantages to both.
So let's just be abundantly clear. Are we saying that it's one or the other, or are we saying that they can work together?
They can work together. I would recommend starting off with one. That's what I would recommend with.
Okay.
They can work together and you can share information, but that's going into a much more technical avenue.
Yeah. And what I'm hearing is potentially Trello's the easier start.
Definitely.
Asana is the next level up.
Definitely, yes.
Right. Okay, brilliant. I mean, Colin's just put here that we use Trello to hold images, photos, and where we have used them. and also manage the newsletter creation publication
Yeah,
process.
great.
I mean, that's
great.
I mean, isn't that clever? The idea of having a resource to know what image you've used where. I mean, that's.
So I have clients as well, and it sounds very similar, Colin, that I have clients where they manage their social media through Trello. So again, they store the resources, they store the photos, they actually plan out what they're going to be doing each week, each month. And because you can drag cards from one column to another, it's very clear to see, well, this is scheduled to go out, this has actually been posted, and this is my archive. It can be used in so many different ways.
And in fact, what he's also saying is that with Asana, for project tasks, meeting actions, he's got put a summary of the business plan in the Asana board. So Trello for some things where visual works, and Asana
absolutely.
for primarily for actions.
Yeah, that sounds like a good plan if you're familiar with both of them and happy to work within both.
With the two tools, do we need to pay for them? Are they free versions? Is there a what's the difference with premium?
So they both have free platforms, and they're both absolutely adequate on the free platforms. In fact, I use the free platforms for both of them. The premium version of Asana does give you more functionality in terms of being able to set start dates rather than a due date. It also allows you to have reporting graphs that you don't have on the free version. But actually, I've never found a problem. There are workarounds for pretty much everything on the free version, so I've never had a problem with not needing to upgrade. Again, Trello, there are some, I believe there's some more connectivity things with the premium version, so you can link it up to different calendars or have some more nice add-ons, but you don't need them. You don't need them at all. You know, as long as you can think logically, what do I want this to do? The free version will be fine for 99% of people.
We've got another user here. I can't see your name. Facebook's funny with StreamYard. You've got to give it access. So if you want to put your name or your business in the comment, then we know who you are. But this person on Facebook, I use Asana, and it's fantastic to get everything out of my head into one place instead of on notes on my phone, post-it notes, books, etc., as I used to do. So
what happened with me, I have to say, I got to a point where I'd been working my business for probably about 8 months, and I said to my husband, I feel like I need to make a change. I need to make a change, and I feel like I'm on the top of a cliff, and I'm going to implement this system, and I'm either going to fall or I'm going to soar. And I had my head down for 6 weeks thinking about every single area of my business. I put processes in place, I put checklists in place, I put information in place. And honestly, my business grew so much the next 6 months having that facility. And now if I'm in the car, let's say I'm in the car picking the kids up from school and I get a client call, I'm sitting in the car waiting to go and pick them up, get a client call, all I have to do is open up Asana on my phone, put the information in there, and it's ready for when I want to work on it either later or tomorrow. It's a great place for, as a dumping ground from that perspective.
Right. Okay. So just going back a step, and we've both read a book, E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber. I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't believe either of us are on commission, and so whilst we're recommending it, it's probably more of a genuine recommend than anything else because we're not on commission. E-Myth Revisited, Michael Gerber. I've just put it on the screen. It's one of the best books I've ever read. Sarah, what I think different people have different takeaways from that book. What was the big takeaway for you from that book?
I read that book and went, this is what I do. I break people's businesses down to build them up again. And because ultimately there is no way of growing without having some processes in place. It's as simple as that. If you keep everything in your head, you are going to reach a ceiling eventually. You're not going to get past that. And so the book for me was a bit like, actually, this is what I do. I as an online business manager, I work with clients to break it all down and to build it up into something where they can grow and they can bring in different people. So yeah, it was a really interesting read for me.
Yeah, I mean, I read it and I laughed all the way through it really because it was like, oh yeah, I made that mistake. Yeah, I did that. Oops, yeah, that's me. And it was like just full of just things that I did wrong in a way. And the massive thing I took from it was it's all about business processes, and it's all about having making tiny little tweaks within your business, but building a library of processes so that when it works and when something goes really well, you do it in exactly the same way next time.
One thing that I love doing, actually, on that note, one thing that I love doing is helping people to create an onboarding process for new clients, especially for service-driven businesses. So somebody who might provide marketing services, for example, they might have a set of tasks that they go through, but it might be different each time because they can't actually remember, have I sent this? Have I done that? Have I asked the client this? Have I collected this information? And by creating a template that, you can tweak as time goes on, but it's your master template, it's a great starting point, because you know that you need to collect this information from them. You need to, at this point, add them to your database. You know that at this point, you need to make sure that they've signed a contract with you. At this point, you're going to have a review with them. It makes it easy, and it makes it easy to follow, and that's the key.
Yeah. Okay. Just to remind you, if you've got questions, please do ask. Thanks so much for joining us. We're going to be doing these quite regularly. Our expert today is Sarah Small from ADIGITALME, but we're going to have other experts on as well. We've got a Facebook group, the Coronavirus Yorkshire Business Support Group. It's an independent a group set up by for independent advice for businesses that are currently going through the coronavirus chaos. So please feel free to come in there, network, ask advice, get help, etc. This is so we've talked about business processes. We've talked about ultimately creating efficiency and creating a bit of a machine, really. So in I don't mean in a bad way though, but in a personalized machine. So part of this is that automation, and there's another tool that you quite like, which is correct me if I'm wrong, is ActiveCampaign.
Yeah, absolutely. ActiveCampaign.
So talk to us about how and why and what you do with this, and what small businesses are missing.
So ActiveCampaign is an automated email tool, and it can be used in lots of different ways. But essentially, if you want to be in regular contact with people that you are meeting, or regular contact with your clients to advise them of new services that you might be providing or something that you think might be of interest, then having an automated system to do that really will make your life easier. Now, the reason it's great is because once you've set up that process flow of what journey do I want to take my clients on, that's it, that's the right link. What journey do I want to take my clients on? And you think about that in advance, then as you add people into the flow, it happens automatically. So you're not having to remind them. It's a case of, I'll give you an example. A client of mine is a bespoke jeweler who specializes in engagement and wedding rings, and previously was meeting prospective brides and grooms to be at wedding fairs and following up with them maybe once or twice and getting perhaps an 8% engagement rate in terms of getting them, not engagement as in engagement, but getting them to come into the studio and meet them. We moved over to ActiveCampaign. We basically spec'd out the entire process, the entire communication flow from meeting those people at a wedding fair, what we wanted to tell them, what we wanted to show them, inviting them to book an appointment in the studio. And I think the percentage difference, they're now getting about a 35% uplift in the number of things that they get into the studio, which is a massive difference. They get a series of probably about 12 emails over about 12 weeks, excuse me. But obviously that translates into sales. And, for a very small upfront effort, that's made a big difference to their bottom line.
So this is ultimately where you've planned out a 12-week set of emails with different messages, ultimately trying to get them further, this customer client further down the funnel into buying a service or a product. And it all starts with just their email address in a way. Well, an initial conversation and an email address.
It does, and obviously we have to take GDPR into account with all this. Let's not forget that. But in this particular instance, my client is at wedding fairs with an online form on an iPad that they collect information on, basically. So they get them to sign up and agree to the communications, and then at that point it starts to enter the funnel.
But that initial conversation, just to help small business owners here, doesn't have to necessarily be face to face, i.e. even on Zoom. I don't mean in physical face to face. This could purely be someone coming onto a website and downloading something or or watching something or doing some kind of action on a website. That could be the initial conversation, as long as they've agreed GDPR and as long as they know what they've signed up to.
Absolutely. I mean,
It's that start of the journey.
I have that for myself. I have a freebie, which I've got a landing page for, which is how to take control of your working day in 5 easy steps. It's a real practical freebie, giving some real practical advice. And then what happens is my communication funnel asks, how are you getting on? Gives them a couple of other little freebies that, as an extra. But eventually does try and push them into buying a set of done for you Trello boards that are already organized and set up for you, because people might actually go, I'd love to do that, but I don't know how to do it. So, that's my funnel for an additional income stream. And there's lots of different ways that you can go about that.
So you're selling a product which is Trello templates. What you're doing is you're giving a resource away right at the beginning free of charge.
Yep.
And then part of that is you put your email address in to get the resource. Yep. But then day one, you might send an email saying, how are you getting on with the resource? These are the things to think about. Day 3, you might be saying, how's it going? Here's something else you could consider. And during this 12-week process, you're ultimately taking them to, actually, I've got something else that you could buy if you wanted to. So it's just a really simple process. And there's also tools in there to personalize. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Absolutely. They're all branded up. Mine looks completely different to my clients. It's all branded up with the right colors, font sizes, everything. It can be absolutely personalized as much as you want. It's an absolutely fantastic tool. And
you can have different customers or clients or whatever you want to call them on different tracks. So potentially, just taking the jeweler as an example, maybe they've done a wedding first, so they might have a wedding automation campaign compared to maybe they've then done I can't think of another wedding jewelry.
I'll give you an example, actually, because we did this. So there's a particular campaign that works when they meet somebody now at a wedding fair. That's something that we set up from probably, it was about November last year. However, prior to that, there was about a year's worth of people they had met and only communicated with once, who had also given their wedding date within a certain time frame. So what we did is we went back, but those people had already approved communication from the client. We went back and we said, okay, we hope we haven't missed you. We hope we haven't let you down at the altar, type of thing. If have you got married? Do you still want to hear from us? And this particular trail with the different automated rules then takes them through a slightly different route, but then back into the come and book an appointment with us. And it takes, it bypasses slightly and then takes them back into it. So actually, what we did was we picked up an awful lot of people that they'd had very little communication with and brought them back into the fold.
Brilliant. And one of the things that that I probably should have mentioned earlier, that I think is really important to get across here, is that all of us realize how difficult a time this is for so many people, and how no one's quite sure about what they're doing and how they're doing it, and are they selling, are they not selling, is their business open, is their business not open. I think what we're trying to get across here is that there's always an opportunity, and whether that opportunity is to try and find a new product or service and totally adapt to sell during this time is one option, but the other option is it's an opportunity to completely reflect on your business and use the time that you may have to put some of these things into place, so that if anything, you can come out fighting and growing and really
absolutely, and more efficient at the end of it. 100%.
Yeah, it's just so important to take this opportunity to put these things in place, because if you're not doing it, your competitors will be, and it's about who's going to come out of this and really be the leader in some of the things that you do. So what we're trying to do is help you, give you the resources, give you the tools, give you the confidence, give you some positivity on some of the things that you could implement in your business. Colin has asked a question about ActiveX. It's quite a specific question. So we've got problems with getting opt-in confirmation emails out to people with BT Internet email addresses. Have you experienced this?
Not specifically. However, I know with a lot of automated email campaigns and email platforms, they do sometimes they don't like certain email providers. Gmail and Hotmail can often be ones that just go, I'm not having that. So there is a possibility that BT Internet falls into that. I haven't experienced it specifically myself, but it may well be. I would recommend you try and raise a ticket with them or ask in the help section. It may be something that they're aware of and that they can work on. Presumably you're a paid user, given that you're using ActiveCampaign. I'm assuming that you're already a paid user, so there will be some help available to you from them directly.
So the only thing that I could add there is that I don't know ActiveCampaign, so I don't know if this facility is available in there. But if we just talk about generally email platforms, full stop, there's some best practices for using email platforms. So first of all, so I think what's happening in Colin's question is it's probably getting caught in a spam filter, or it's being rejected by BT Internet even prior to it getting into the filter. There's some best practices that you can use. So first of all, a best practice is to use a from email address that's not even your domain name. Using if your domain is digitalme.com, or is it .com.co.uk? .co.uk. So digitalme.co.uk. So maybe your email address is info@digitalme.co.uk. Instead of using that email address, what you'd actually be far better doing is using info@digitalme emails.co.uk, so a different domain name. And what you'll notice is a lot of the supermarkets do this. A lot of the if you start looking at some of the mails that you get, the email newsletters you get in your inbox, you'll notice this. And the reason they do it is it's to do two things. It's to protect their own domain name against being marked as spam, because Google can see what's going on, and they don't want to lose ranking in Google for their domain name. But also it's to give the email campaigns a fresh, clean address that has no bad history or anything like that at all, to ultimately get through more spam filters. And then some of the other best practices are making sure that you've got DKIM records set up, SPF records. Some of this might sound really technical, but ultimately, without setting some of these things up, unfortunately, you will get caught in spam filters. And so feel free to Google this afterwards: SPF records, DKIM records. So it's those best practices of sending emails through some of these platforms. You might not be able to do any of this in ActiveCampaign, but it's certainly something to consider.
You can certainly do the from email address, that's for sure. I've got a question for you on that then, Johnny. If you put in a different email address in the sending from section, what happens do you actually have to have that email address set up, or what happens if someone hits reply to it?
Yeah, so you can change the reply. So what you do is the from email address would be this, this new domain, but you can set the reply email address to your actual email address. Yeah, okay, so that solves the reply issue. And what you can do is, a best practice is also to have that domain set up so that if anyone ever visited it, it would simply say, you've reached this domain because you've received an email from us. Our website is over here. So there's some best practices that you could put in. But yeah, what you're ultimately saying is there's a huge opportunity to put some kind of funnel marketing automation. Those words scare people, I think, in small businesses, the word funnel automation and campaign. But this is really simplistic stuff. You're saying you meet someone, you talk about your product, you find a way of them agreeing to receiving emails from you, and you very nicely over a period of time.
Yes, absolutely, and you just softly encourage. And you might only have a small take up, but ultimately it's better than nothing.
Yeah, okay. We've talked about Asana, we've talked about Trello, active campaigns. I guess you're using Zoom a lot.
Zoom an awful lot, yes. I'm not going to profess to be the world's expert on Zoom, but I have been using it for the past 4 years for certainly one-to-one meetings and small team meetings, yes. So I'm relatively familiar with it.
You're a big advocate of that, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. That's one thing that I would say, actually. I know I've talked about it before in some of the different groups, including this group. But if you are relatively new to using Zoom, or even if you're not and you're not aware of some of the settings, just go and have a look on the website. I think the biggest thing that I can say to you is put your waiting room on, because with your waiting room, it just gives you that bit more control of who's trying to get in, and it means that you can actually say yes or no to them if it is somebody trying to Zoom bomb you, as that seems to be a new phrase, but stick your waiting room on. It just gives you a bit more control.
Yeah, and and also there's something going around this morning about, whilst we're going through a crisis, unfortunately we all become vulnerable, and fraudsters are just going crazy and
Yeah.
enjoying this. And what you also now need to start looking out for is making sure that when you get a Zoom invitation, that it's actually a Zoom link and it's not something else. I was gobsmacked yesterday when when Boris put out a tweet with the picture of the Zoom meeting, but at the top of it had the meeting ID, and all you then need is the password. And there'll be programs out there that can soon work out passwords.
However, it could be an individual scheduled meeting link that's never used again. It might not be his personal meeting link. It could be a scheduled one. So I'm hoping it was. I'm really hoping for their purposes.
I agree. And then on top of that, you had Michael Gove with the name. His name at the bottom was pretty much his personal email address. So it's just like, what are you doing? This is the country that's, the people that are running the country.
The thing, though, that a lot of corporate businesses, working virtually, all this stuff is very new to them. And whilst I'm talking about tools for small businesses, I know that you've already spoken about large corporations, but ultimately, a lot of people, they don't know how to use all these tools effectively and efficiently and privately as well to keep themselves safe. And it's really interesting that these big corporations who do amazing work and they earn a lot of money and they've got a very professional outlook, but actually they don't really know what they're doing when it comes to technology.
Yeah. This has been really, really interesting, really helpful. I hope it's helped people. We're happy to answer questions afterwards. Just pop your questions in the comments. If you watch this on replay, then we'll come straight back. We're going to be running some other live Q&As. Got a couple of really exciting ones coming up next week, so I'll let you know about those. Is there anything else that you where are we going to find you? If we want to find you online, Sarah, where do we look?
Okay, so you want to be looking at adigitalme.co.uk. You'll find me on the web, you'll find me on LinkedIn, you'll find me on Facebook. LinkedIn is probably my biggest platform in terms of engagement with people. Those are all my small business owner connections. So I do post on there very regularly. So do come and connect with me if you're not already.
Brilliant. You also have a Facebook group as well, don't you?
I do have a Facebook group. Now, this is something that I started, ironically, just before all this coronavirus hit, but I just launched the Entrepreneur's Evolution, which is a platform for networking and workshops and other events. Now, it has been put off slightly by the fact that we can't actually get together. However, my Facebook group is the Entrepreneur's Evolution community, and I'd love you to come and join in if you're interested.
Brilliant. You've been absolutely brilliant today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's really helped open people's thoughts, I think, in some of the simple tools that they could be using, and for that we thank you. So enjoy your day, everyone, and we will see you all soon. I'll let Sarah say goodbye, and there we go.
Thank you, everyone. Do get in touch if you want to ask any questions, and I'll do my very best to help out.
Everyone take care, stay at home, and stay safe.
Thank you.
You've been listening to the Johnny Ross audio experience. Thanks so much for joining me. If you want to continue the conversation, head over to my website, fleek.marketing, or find me on LinkedIn. That's all for today. Please subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts, tag me in your social media posts, and please leave me a review on iTunes. It will make a huge difference for me. I will see you soon.